All right, I'm going to talk about all the games that I played in 2025. I took notes on each of them throughout the year and I rated them all. And I'm going to talk about them in rating order from lowest rating to highest rating. So let us begin. The first game that I played, or not the first game that I played, but the first game on our list this year is Hybrid Heaven. It was shit from a butt. The combat was very fun for the first couple hours. Then it became just a grind fest. It's a turn based RPG where your weapons are your limbs. The platforming, if you can call it that, was very bad. And outside of combat, it was the same three enemies over and over and over and over. It was just not fun. The story was trying to go for some kind of Metal Gear Solid thing at first, and then it transformed into some alien invasion, protect the world from the aliens, save the world type thing. It was just weird. Not a great time. 4 out of 10. Next up, we have Gory Cuddly Carnage. I played this for 7 hours. We give this one a 6 out of 10. It had some redeeming qualities. It was just a little too gory for my tastes. There were sequences where you would fight like hundreds of enemies at a time, and I thought that those were just boring and kind of drawn out. The boss fights were really fun, though. I didn't care for the movement. The movement just felt like it was too floaty, almost like you got a double jump, but the double jump, like the levels didn't feel like they were designed for the double jump because I was constantly overshooting platforms and stuff if I did a double jump, but if I didn't, then I would hit them. So, like, why even use it? Music was okay. It was just really like kind of straightforward, kind of rock music. The story was just too absurd to take seriously. And other than that, it was a fun kind of like hack and slash and beat 'em up type game, but not for me. We played Eco. I spent 6 hours on this. This game, I have mixed feelings about. The movement and the combat were both really clunky, and there were like sequences of combat where it was kind of forced, and you had to fight these shadow creatures, and then sometimes you didn't have to fight them. The level design I thought was really good, and it felt like it kind of inspired future like Souls-like games. The way that like the like kind of exploration and backtracking was, I thought it was really good. The vibes were great. The pause music was incredible. The story itself was just kind of whatever. I just didn't think that it held up. It was okay. It was okay. Gravity Circuit. I spent 7 hours on this. Give this one a 6 out of 10. Technically, I didn't finish it. I got to the last boss. It's such an incredible jump in difficulty that I couldn't fucking beat that guy. It was just too hard. The rest of the game wasn't incredibly hard. It was difficult, but it wasn't like impossibly so. But it was pretty punishing where like the checkpoints and levels would set you back incredibly far if you fell or died. So just not a great time. The everything else about the game was really good. It's just not for me. Just a game that was not for me. Alan Wake. We gave this one a 6.5. The core of the gameplay was basically using this flashlight to kind of like reduce the shadows on people so you could shoot them. And the story around that was pretty interesting, but the gameplay was just so repetitive. It was just that over and over for like the 7 chapters or however many chapters were in the game. And the level design was very samey. I just felt like it was in a dark forest almost the entire time. And the story kind of got convoluted towards the end. It wasn't, it just stopped making sense like it did in the beginning. So yeah, I don't really know why this was. I remember this being so popular when it came out in 2010 or 2011 or 2008, whatever it was. I just don't know why. Doesn't hold up quite as well. It's okay. The Witcher 3. This is a game that I've tried to play a dozen or so times, and I always play the intro to the game and I kill the griffin, and I never come back to it because the combat is just not fun. It's just not. The combat always turns me away. The writing, the music, the voice acting, the atmosphere, the quests are all super good. That's all, like all that stuff standalone is 10 out of 10. The core gameplay, not just the combat, but like the RPG systems, the potions, using your signs, like all that stuff just feels, it's like meaningless. It's just so bad. The gameplay never gets good, never gets better than what you experienced in the beginning of the game. So if you don't like the beginning of the game, if the combat turns you off that much, you're not going to like the rest of the game. But the story is really good. So I think it just, I don't know if people thought this was good in 2015. I played it on release in 2015, didn't like it then either. Finally stuck with it, and it's just okay. It's the story and everything doesn't make up for how bad the combat and core gameplay is, unfortunately. I wish it did. Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. This is one that I thought that I was going to like a lot more. I played this in 2003 as a youngling, and I loved it. I loved the art style. I loved everything about it. Or maybe rose tinted goggles led me to believe so, at least. The dungeons and the bosses were just not good. They were just kind of boring, and I don't know. I just really didn't like them. The exploration outside of all the dungeons was great. The music was really good. The art was really good. Just the dungeons, which to me is like the core of a Zelda game, except for Breath of the Wild, which I'm not even going to get into right now. Uh, those have to be good for the game to be good, and they're just not great here. But everything else is good, so I give this a 7 out of 10. Detroit Become Human. I kind of have mixed feelings about this too, but overall it was a fun experience. The writing had a lot of like logical inconsistencies. Um, and overall I thought was just pretty bad. Like there were so many things that they like. This game is supposed to be about androids, but the writing seemed as if it ignored the fact that these were androids and it was treating them as if they were humans, not just in terms of like social stance, but in terms of like functionality or like, biologically, which it just, some of it didn't make any sense. The voice acting and the motion capture were so good. There were an inconceivable amount of different outcomes and paths and options that you could do. It was really fun. Kind of an interactive choose your own adventure type game. So really, I give this a 7 out of 10. Four Swords. I can't remember if this was adventure, if this is adventures or the other one. In whatever case, this is the one that is very short and is just a 4-player game that was originally a game where you had to use your Game Boy Advance hooked up to a GameCube, I believe. And it's just a really short, like 2.5 hour long adventure where you just solve some puzzles and fight some bosses. And it was really cool. It used a lot of assets from Minish Cap, which I had played around the same time. And some of the puzzles were a little, I wouldn't say complex, but they just were not very obvious at all. But it was fun. I had a good time with it. So a 7.5 for this one. Norco. This was kind of an interesting point and click type adventure game. The story was really out there. Like the atmosphere of the story almost gave me like Fight Club vibes, or almost like David Fincher-esque. But really like not post-apocalyptic, but kind of that vibe of like things will never be good again almost. There weren't as many puzzles as I thought there would be, given that it's like a point and click adventure game, but the puzzles that were there were okay. To me, the game felt like it didn't know if it was trying to be a visual novel or if it wanted to be an old school point and click adventure game, and it just didn't benefit from not being able to make that decision. But overall, I enjoyed it. I thought the story was good. I think it's worth a play, but I gave this a 7.5, and it was really short. Onimusha. This played really. I've never played an Onimusha game before this, and this played really similar to Resident Evil with that for me. But without ammo management, which is my biggest gripe with Resident Evil. I don't think that ammo management is very fun, because it just forces you basically to run away from a lot of fights when it would probably be more fun to fight. So I really like this. You switch between two different characters though. So there's these portions where you play as a female character named Cade or Kaede, and it just didn't feel rewarding to fight. So anytime I was that character, I would just run past all the enemies because that character has no leveling up or anything. It's just, you're just playing that character temporarily with no benefit. So, why fight enemies if you're not going to get experience or resources to level up with? So generally pretty good though. I would recommend 7.5 for that one. Silent Hill F. I played this one late this year. The combat was kind of mid. Like I know that they were going for a more interactive. I never played another Silent Hill game, so I don't know if the old ones are more runaway and hide type games, like a lot of survival horror games are. But this one really didn't feel like you were supposed to be running most of the time. Like if it felt like the game wanted you to fight, but fighting just I thought wasn't very fun. It felt like they were going for the Souls-like type combat system where you're supposed to dodge and parry, and I just never could get the timing right. Like even up until the end, I was trying the entire time and just could never get it right. The puzzles and the storytelling were really good. The story itself was really good. I liked the plot. It was like this whole journey of like introspective journey of the main character, kind of discovering who she is, and it felt like there were themes of like uh, kind of almost gender roles and you know in friendships and relationships and themes of like family and whatnot. It was really cool. Uh, Most of the enemies, yeah, I just ran past. I just didn't want to fight because it didn't feel fun. And there was also weapon durability, which I do not like. I don't like weapon durability in really any game. So I give this a 7.5. Mass Effect was a fun one. I've played this in the past, so this is my second playthrough. The gameplay is definitely showing its age. The last time I played this, I think, was in 2009 or sometime shortly after it came out. Uh, so the dialogue system is still very good. And I mean, how can you improve on selecting options of dialogue? But other than that, it's also fully voice active, which is always a plus. Um, the Mako missions are just ass. They're just fucking terrible. The controls for the Mako still suck. Even in I played in the remastered version, it still sucks. The combat is pretty good, but it's not great. There's just a lot of improvements that they can and did make, or could have and did make in future Mass Effect titles. So that's just very apparent here. All the world building and side stories and this characters and writing is all top notch, though. And I found all 3,271 keepers in the Citadel, which took, I think, roughly 6 years of my life to do. So I give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. The pixel art in this game is absolutely incredible, as well as the animations. Leveling up is so much fun. There are more than just the turtles. You also can play Splinter. You can play... I can't remember the rabbits' names. You can play Casey. Like there's a bunch of other characters to play, and they all feel different too. The turtles feel kind of samey, but they're just turtles. But they all do have their own weapons. They don't have any like. I guess they do have one special ability that you can use that has like kind of a charge meter, which is pretty fun. But otherwise, like their basic combat kind of feels pretty samey. It was cool that like each level has 3 different challenges that you can complete that give you cool stuff too. Some of the challenges are really hard though, but I don't really have too many gripes with this game. Other than that, it's just pretty basic. It's old school game design, but really fun. 8 out of 10. And that leads me to my next one that I didn't update the image for, and that is Marvel Cosmic Invasion. It plays very similar to Ninja Turtles. The pixel art is also very good in this game. I think it is just slightly better than Turtles, although it is on at the same tier, obviously, with another 8 out of 10. I like it a little bit better because every single hero feels unique, not only in their basic abilities, but in their special ability, or not only in their special abilities, but their basic abilities as well. It is definitely more punishing and a little more difficult than Shredder's Revenges, though. But I think just because the heroes feel more unique, it's a little bit more fun. So give that an 8 out of 10. The Super Mario RPG remake. I have tried to play Super Mario RPG on emulators so many times, going back probably for the last 20 years. And for some reason, I always get to a point where it crashes and I lose a bunch of save progress. And this has happened multiple times, like 4 or 5 times probably. And then I just never pick it back up because I'm so frustrated. So finally I played the remake and it was so fun. It's so cute and endearing. The music is so good. It's super fast paced. So it's like a lot of JRPGs fall victim of being really grindy and you kind of do the same thing over and over, and that can get kind of boring. But with this, it's just like you're constantly moving forward and you're never spending a lot of time in one area. The story is progressing, the combat's progressing. Speaking of the combat, it's really fun doing all the like timing your attacks and whatnot, right? Attacks and defenses. Just so good. The characters are really cool too. It's like characters that we'll never see anywhere else. Mallow and Gino. They should be in other games, but they're not. And the story was just okay, but the rest of the game really makes up for it. Like it's just such a just charming place to be in that you just kind of want to keep playing through it. So 8 out of 10. Metroid Prime, another Nintendo game. This game absolutely holds up today, even though it came out 22, 23 years ago now. The level design and the gameplay are so good. It feels like it could have been made today, basically. Like nothing feels out of date, which is crazy for it being so old. The music and the ambiance of the game are both great. My only gripe with it really was that whenever you leave rooms and come back, the enemies are back. So that can be kind of an annoyance sometimes because some of the enemies don't die really easily until you get upgrades. So it can just make and there's no fast travel, so you have to walk across the map, which I like in these kinds of games, because the gameplay really is figuring out like where to go and how to get to places. It just sucks whenever they throw enemies at you in that manner where it makes like travel, especially in the later levels where there's like Metroids and shit flying around. I think that can be a little clunky and be a little annoying, but it doesn't completely ruin the experience. It's still such a great game. So I gave this an 8 out of 10. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This game felt more like playing through a movie to me than any other game I think I've ever played in my life. I had a great time with it from start to finish, although in the last two levels, there were some bugs that started to show. Like there were some voice lines that kept going off over and over for some reason. But other than that, like I thought the voice acting was top notch. The story was really good. The like graphics and lighting are perfect, as well as the animations and sound design and everything. I'm not a big fan of stealth games, but like everything else around this was so good that I like the stealth was excusable for me. And the stealth mechanics weren't terrible. Like some other stealth games are just not fun, but this one I thought was really good. So definitely worth a play. A Short Hike. Yeah, this game was 2 hours long. You could probably finish it even faster than that. It's short and sweet. The only goal that you're given is to get to the top of the summit of this mountain. And however you go about doing that is up to you. And it's got a little bit of collectathon going on. There's a lot of different stuff, like little side quests you can do. The flying mechanic, and there's like a clinging mechanic where you can cling on to walls and climb walls. That was all really fun as well. It's like open world exploration type game that it's really small and condensed, and it like the exploration doesn't feel like chores, like and the collecting doesn't feel like chores like a lot of open world games do. It was really cute and really fun. And the art and music were both really good too. So 8.5. And you can play this in an afternoon. Recommend. Borderlands 3. Hey, how'd these get in here? Okay, that's out of order, but that's okay. Pretend that A Short Hike came after this. So Borderlands 3, the gunplay in this game is so good, but the story kind of just ruins everything. It's really bad. And there's so much cringe writing that just gets in the way. Like you're forced to sit through the dialogue, and it gets in the way of the fun gameplay. Making and experimenting with builds is really fun though, and the DLC is very, very good. Like they fix a lot of the writing issues in the DLC. It's just unfortunately like you don't do the DLC until you're forced to sit through like 20 hours or whatever of the story, the main story. So to each their own. I mean, a lot of people play games like these not for the story at all, and they just ignore it all. But even if you're doing that, that's an issue because you can't skip all these dialogue parts. You're forced to sit through them. Other than that, just a great game. So 8 out of 10. Another 8 out of 10, Sword of the Sea. This game, similar to other short games I played this year, very short and very sweet. It's kind of like a cross between, it's the next step up from a walking simulator. So there's more gameplay aspects where you actually have to do stuff and kind of, I don't know if I can call them puzzles, but you have to solve small things. but it's more akin to a walking simulator, where it's kind of just a visual spectacle and an audio spectacle. The music was very, very good, and the graphics and just atmosphere and everything were very good. It's the same people that made a game called Abzu, which is really more of a walking simulator where you just kind of like float through the ocean and look at a bunch of different like fish and sea life, which is also really good. But I didn't play that this year. I played that a different year. But I do recommend this. 8 out of 10. Ghost of Yote. This is one of the few open world games that I played this year. It was pretty solid. I think that the issues that it has are the same issues that nearly every other open world game has, in that in order to meaningfully progress your character and make your character stronger, there's usually chores you have to do. And at first, they don't seem like chores because it's like, oh, go to this area and, go find this thing in the world. And if you find all 50 of them, you've maxed it out. And that at first is really fine until you find yourself extremely distracted from the story and you're just doing all that over and over again to try to get that stat or whatever that correlates to maxed out. That's my problem with open world games, and this is no different. This has all kinds of that stuff. That being said, the main story is so good, and a lot of the side quests are so good as well. Audio and the music were both fantastic. The voice acting, or I can't even call it voice acting because I'm sure that there was a bunch of mocap involved as well. That was all just really, really good as well. And then it was also really challenging. Like I played on normal difficulty, and there were boss fights and duels that like really gave me a run for my money, and I had a great time with them. Yeah, just a really fun game, a really solid open world game. Baldur's Gate 3. I played this with two other people, and we played like weekly or sometimes twice a week over the course of 6 or 7 months. This game was crazy. The number of things that could possibly happen based on the decisions that you made throughout the entire game was just insane to process. Like there were things that were happening for decisions that we had completely forgot about, that, because since we were only playing like 3 to 4 hour sessions once or twice a week, there was things that had happened months prior that would come back to haunt us like later in the game. And that was super cool. Acts 1 and 2 are just incredible, and Act 3 it was still really good, but it kind of fell apart as far as like not story goes, but like gameplay. I guess story a little bit too. It just felt like janky, just in general jankier than the first 2 acts were. I didn't care much for the main plot, especially near the end. Like the involvement with the mind flayers and whatnot, just, I don't know, it just didn't tickle my fancy for some reason. I might have enjoyed it more if we didn't really interact with our companions very much because we only had one slot open because there was 3 of us. So we kind of just had Shadowheart in our party the whole time and only talked to her. We did end up doing the side quests for everybody else, but we didn't have like all the banter with all of them in between quests. So it just didn't have as much of an impact, but maybe in the future I'll play this again by myself and see if I like it a little bit more. But I still thought it was really good, just not the life-changing experience that it seems that most people have had with it. So Tiny Tina's Wonderland. Now we're in our 8.5s. Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I like this better than Borderlands 3. I really enjoyed the story. I thought the writing was way better than Borderlands 3. Nowhere near as annoying or cringy as it. I thought it, to me personally, was some of the best gameplay in the Borderlands games that I've played. And the art style and graphics was all really cool too. And like the story ended up being like really heartfelt. Will Arnett was one of the main characters, which was really cool. Like the voice acting was really good. I thought it was just a fun experience through and through. I didn't play any of like the in-game content. I just played through the story. So I know some people's gripe with this game was that the in-game wasn't very good, but I can't even comment on that. So if you ignore the in-game like I did, I think this was a solid experience. So 8.5 for Tiny Tina's Wonderland. And that moving on right to another Borderlands game, Borderlands 4. This definitely has the best gameplay in a Borderlands game so far. This is also an open world game, but I feel like it doesn't fall victim to the open world issues that other games do because it feels more localized. Like the things that you collect in the open world feel more valuable and have more of an impact on your character than in some other open world games because there's not as many of them. I guess maybe that's why. I'm not really sure, but I enjoyed the open world experience in this. Um, I played this on release, and maybe it's changed now because it's been a couple months, but I don't think it was for how average the game looked, like the graphics wise. Not that it was super average; it looked really good, but for the level of graphics that it just wasn't very performant. So it feels like there were some improvements that they could definitely have made to make this run a little bit smoother, both on PlayStation and PC. And the music wasn't very memorable. Like some of the old, like Borderlands 1 and 2, for instance, just have this like really Western style music that just fits the theme so well. And it's just really stuck with me. And this game, the music was really just forgettable, in my opinion. The story was okay, but it felt more watered down and it wasn't like really memorable, but it was way less cringy. But also like the game just as a whole had less personality than the older game, even than Borderlands 3, which was super cringy. Just less personality than all of those. So I played this, jammed through the story, and then I played it more afterwards too. Like 35 hours, I think, was my story completion time. And then I played a dozen or so more hours after. I really enjoyed the in game stuff, especially it being open world. There's just so much more to do after you complete the story. So I would recommend Borderlands 4. 8.5. Astrobot. This was the first game that I played this year. I started it last year, technically, and then I finished it on New Year's Day. I think that this competes with the Mario games, like the modern Mario games, in terms of polish and level design for 3D platformers. The pacing in this game was incredible. It was fun from the very beginning all the way through the end. The tutorialization, I guess you can call it, was really good also. Like just the way that the game approaches you as the player and teaches you things was great. Like I could see like my mom or, a child that has never touched a controller picking this up and figuring things out because the game explains stuff to you really well. The traversal I thought was really good, but it could have been more fun if they added like some more creative stuff. Like there's like this overworld where you collect the bots that you've saved and you can use them to like make bridges and stuff. Like seeing some of that incorporated into the actual levels would have been cool. But the levels is really just you doing whatever you do in each level, which was also really fun. It's just, I think that it could have been improved a little bit to like bump this up a notch. Did it deserve Game of the Year? I don't know. Maybe. Hard to say. I can't even remember what came out last year at this point. So we'll just say yeah. But yeah, 8.5. I recommend Astrobot. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. To me, this game is just a really solid modern take on a Souls-like game, or like almost also with like 3D Metroidvania kind of design elements in it. The story was really good. I guess it's Star Wars canon. I'm not really sure. Like at the time I played this, I didn't know much about the Star Wars canon, so I don't know exactly what is real and what's not, but it had like some cameos from some of the movies. Like Forrest Whitaker's character from Rogue One was actually in it. So that was cool. And then avoiding spoilers, there are other popular characters from the main trilogy and whatnot in this movie or in this game as well. So that's all pretty cool. The action sequences and cutscenes, animations, and everything were like movie quality and were just awesome to watch. Like I'm the kind of person that like often will want to skip cutscenes because I just don't. Sometimes they're just not great or just not fun to watch. But I never felt like I wanted to skip any of these. The set pieces in this game are so good. Like the world design and stuff was just incredible. You can tell that they really just took their time, and whoever was the art director on this did a great job. So 8.5 out of 10. I recommend this game as well. So It Takes Two, we're moving on to my 9 ratings. It Takes Two, I played through this with my girlfriend and we both loved it. The story was heartwarming, except there's a part where you tear apart this like toy elephant and it's like kind of like weirdly doesn't fit the rest of the kind of atmosphere of the game, but it was to me, I thought it was hella funny, but it was a little disturbing. The difficulty I thought was really good and it was challenging, especially like there were some platforming parts that were really tough for like my girlfriend who doesn't use controllers very often, but they were all completely doable. like we were able to overcome the challenges. So it's not like it was overly difficult. I felt like the level of difficulty was really good. And the platforming level design were both really good too. And I think that more games just need this cooperative design where it requires two people to play, and also more games just need split screen in general. But 9 out of 10. This is a pretty good game. So next up we have A Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. This might be my favorite 3DS game, 3DS exclusive game. It's some of the most fun gameplay I've had in the 3DS. This game is very similar to the SNES Legend of Zelda game. I think it's an unofficial sequel technically. The story was really good. I really liked that there was like a choose your own dungeon order. And because of that choose your own dungeon order, each dungeon kind of relied on having just one item in it, because they couldn't assume that you had any certain items up to that point. So each dungeon had like its own item that was sort of like married to it. And they were still fun even despite that. Like I thought that after the first two dungeons, it's like, okay, these are just one item. Like, or how are we feeling about this? But it was really good. They did a great job with it. So give this a 9 out of 10. BioShock is another one I played. The story for BioShock was really, really good. And I know the story gets a lot of hype, but I thought the gameplay was even better. Like the story could have been anything, and I would have enjoyed this, I think, just because the FPS gameplay with a little bit of RPG elements just to spice things up was so good, and it held up. Like this game could have came out last year, and it would have felt like a modern game, really. I think my favorite part was becoming a big daddy near the end, which that was just really cool, especially after going through the whole game with like your basic powers and stuff. And then also like the decision making where you can choose between, and I didn't even know this until after the game, and spoiler alert for this 20-year-old game, but you can choose between saving or using the little sisters to basically make yourself stronger. Oops. And depending on what you do, it changes the outcome of the game, which is kind of cool. The cameras and alarms are kind of a drag. They like, I don't know. I just didn't care for those too much. They just kept going off, and there wasn't like a easy way to deal with them. I thought more of an annoyance than anything, but the rest of the game was so good. I gave this a 9. I would play this again for sure. That moves us towards the Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. This I liked even better than The Link Between Worlds. The art style is so good. I think this is some of the best pixel art in a game, period. Like it's the pixel art in this game is absolutely incredible. The dungeons were also really fun and well designed. I really like the gimmick also, like shrinking. Every Zelda game has a gimmick that either you like or you don't. I thought this one was really fun, shrinking down to kind of be in the same areas, but with a different experience at a different scale. That was really cool. The puzzle's really fun. And yeah, really, it's just some of the best. It was so pretty to look at. Some of the best pixel art ever made. So I gave this a 9 out of 10. Animal Well. This game kind of surprised me. The atmosphere of this game was incredible. Like there's this ambient soundtrack that was just, it fit the game perfectly, just along with the art style and just like the way the animations worked and stuff. I loved it. And then there's like this crazy CRT filter that looks better than any weird CRT filter that I've ever seen. That you can still turn off if you don't like it, but I thought it was so good. I usually hate these things and I just turn them off because I'd rather just look at the regular pixel art, but that was done really well here. I don't know how they did that. The puzzles in this game are crazy good, and there's like layers to the puzzles. So every screen that you're on might have like extra little bits of information that you can find that has like a meta puzzle associated with it. So once you like roll credits on this game, there's still so much more to do. I found out. So I'm probably going to come back to this because I rolled credits and then I kind of put it down to move on to other stuff. But yeah, there's just layers and layers of puzzles that you can keep going deep on. So I want to come back to it someday. But really good game. Even if you just play it to roll the credits, it's on its own. I give it a 9 out of 10. I'm curious to see what my rating will be after I come back to it and explore the other stuff. Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. I played a lot of Zelda games this year. I think I played 5 or 6. Um, Skyward Sword I had never played whenever it first came out because I don't think I had a Wii whenever it first came out. Um, I think the core story for this game might be better than Ocarina of Time. The the story was really good. Uh, Also, the dungeons were also really. The dungeons aren't better than Ocarina of Time, but they were really good. They're probably out of all the Zelda games I played, maybe my second favorite dungeons as a whole. The only issue I really had with this game was like the later, a lot of the later stuff was like either backtracking or repeats of things that you had already done. And there were a couple places that were kind of like overused. Like just a couple zones that you had to go back to that you'd already been in. And it's like, okay, why am I coming back here? And there was a particular boss that you have to fight, I think 3 or 4 times that just wasn't even a fun boss fight. So that could have been improved a little bit too. But other than those 3 things, which is really not a majority of the game, uh, everything else in this game is extremely fun. And the art style is really cool too. And Groose is an animal. Just look at his face. He's great. Yeah, I played on the Switch HD version, and the controls took a little bit of getting used to at first, but overall I thought they were like fine. I thought they were just pretty good. I don't know if I would have liked this playing with motion controls, but I thought they were okay on the Switch controller. So 9 out of 10. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. I played this game early this year as well, and I've played this before, but I never completed it. I got really, really far in it, and I enjoyed it just as much then as I did this time. The story, I think, is one of the best stories, not only in an open world game, but just in like a modern video game. This story is incredible to me. I like the world building and the like the story about like an ancient civilization, or our current civilization being the ancient civilization that they're referring to, is just super cool. Like this future world. The gameplay is also super cool. I really like the combat with the machines or / animals, machine animals, whatever you want to call them, and removing specific parts for crafting and stuff. That is super awesome. And I don't think, aside from like Monster Hunter, other games don't really do that. And that's just a incredible mechanic. Like every other open world game though, there's certain things that feel like chores. So if you're trying to like collect them all, if you're trying to get all of like, there's like little statues to collect, I think were in this game. That stuff just burns me out. So I think open world games would be better off without those, or maybe even if they were just a little more linear, that would be fine too. But yeah, overall, just because of the story and the gameplay in this, I give it a 9 out of 10. Maybe if it didn't fall victim to the same stuff in every open world game, it wouldn't be. It would be maybe a 10. We'll never know. Cyberpunk 2077. This game is a movie, basically, and to me, this game is on another level for cinematic experiences. And I think the reason that is because the lighting is so crazy good everywhere. I mean, this screenshot that I picked does not do it justice at all. But throughout the game, like you'll be in just a random alley or something, and the lighting in that alley is just lit so cinematically. I don't know who they put in charge of doing all the lighting in all these different places, but it just looks so good. It's crazy how good it looks. Aside from that, like the RPG gameplay is so good as well. Like all the RPG systems I really like. This is night and day from The Witcher 3, which the RPG systems in that game just are not great at all. This one actually has like skill trees that you can go into, and it actually affects your gameplay immensely. My only complaint about this really is that like I didn't really care for the main villain. I wouldn't even say that the writing for him was bad. It's just they didn't do enough exposition for him, so I feel like I didn't get to know him enough to like care one way or the other about him. Other than that, he somehow fucked over our main character and or other people that our main character was associated with. But I don't know what his motives were necessarily. And then like the final boss too, also kind of like cool character design, but I didn't really care about him from a writing standpoint. But otherwise, the story was very, very, very good. This game was, I couldn't put this down. I played this a lot. 9 out of 10. Next up is Unicorn Overlord. I think this game is a modern classic for strategy RPGs. The battles got a little repetitive, but I just never got bored of them. And I think that is because you can kind of design units. Like, I don't know what you would call it. Like maybe not design units, but the way that you place your characters within a unit changes everything. Like even in the screenshot, you can see in the lower left how those units are aligned on this 2x3 grid. If you change the one of the archers in the back with the guy in the front, that completely changes everything. So you get to experiment with all that, and there's all kinds of interactions and stuff. It's just like it's a wet dream for figuring out all these interactions and just going down that whole rabbit hole. It was so much fun. Also, all the characters had like unique motives and backstories and stuff, which is really cool. I really like the real-time mix with not real-time strategy aspect as well, like where there's a timer and you guys are moving, but also like they just have these little battles whenever they meet up. It was just great. I platinumed this game. I couldn't put this one down either. I played it every day for a couple weeks. I had a fantastic time with it. Dispatch, man, this game was also something else. Oh yeah, we're into the 9.5s now. Yeah. This game was also just something else. This was like a real evolution of Telltale story games. Like old Telltale games, like The Walking Dead, great game. Like might even rank that just as high as this, but my issues with those games are always like everything in between, like the dialogue sequences just feels so out of date because it's just like old, not that old school adventure games are bad, but it just feels like old school adventure games in like the worst ways. Like they didn't improve on anything from those games. You're just walking around, interacting with things, solving very basic puzzles. Like a lot of times it feels like that those games would be better off without those sequences. Like most of the time they don't serve a story. Like they do serve a little bit of a story purpose, but there's other ways to present that information that I feel like would be more impactful and more fun for someone playing the game. And that's where I think Dispatch succeeds. It feels like an evolution of that style of gameplay. My biggest issue with it was that there were quick time events. You can turn those off. It's fantastic. And then the story parts you can watch as a story part or like a TV show or movie. And then instead of having this old school adventure type game, it's just a mini game that is completely different than anything I've ever played, where you're just managing these heroes and dispatching them onto their calls basically. And it's just super fun. Like that in itself could be a fun game that I would play on its own. The voice acting is so good. The story is so good. It really feels like you're playing through an animated TV show. So nothing else like this has come out in the last 10 years, really, like other than Telltale games, but they don't even hold a candle to it. It's just so good. Next up, another Vanillaware game, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. So this one I started back in 2021 and I played it nonstop for like a couple weeks. And I don't know why I got distracted by something else. I didn't like the combat sequences, which you have to do the combat sequences. So for those unfamiliar, this game is sort of broken up into two different really three different pieces. One of them is really just a visual novel where you go around through these story beats and you talk to people and kind of almost solve mysteries in some of these story beats. And that's animated in 2D, and it's animated very well and it looks very pretty. I really like that part of the game. The other part of the game is sort of this almost top-down strategy game, but there aren't really any animations. You're kind of just like a blue thing on a map, or you have several characters in this part, and you're blue things on the map, and you have a lot of different abilities and stuff that you can do, but it's not really animated very pretty. And those of you that have played, you know what I'm talking about. Uh, that being said, I think that the fact that there were no like animations or really that much art in that section of the game at first really turned me off. And I didn't really like it at first, but it really grew on me over time, and I ended up really, really liking it. They like once you start leveling up your characters and unlocking abilities and stuff, it gets so good. Both the story part and the combat parts. But I ended up platinuming this game too. Whenever I came back to it, I just went through everything and did everything. The story is like an homage to a bunch of different sci-fi stories, and it uses like all these old school sci-fi tropes in a bunch of really like good ways. It never feels like sour or trite. It just, oh god, it's so good. Like the story is so good. Yeah, I'd recommend this to anybody. This is a fantastic game. I think I'm gonna go back through and play this again sometime in the near future because I just loved it so much and I want to go through the whole story again. And moving on to we have a couple 10 out of 10s this year. Our first 10 out of 10, this is the one I liked the least out of all of my 10s. And that's, I liked them all a lot because they're all 10s. But the first is Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda. Technically, this is the second time I played through this, but the first time I never technically finished the game. I think I got 3 out of the 4 mechanical beasts, and I just never finished the last one. I never went to go fight Ganon or anything. So this time I went through the whole thing again. Did it all, basically. Did all the story stuff. I didn't do a lot of the collectathon stuff because that's just never, just like other open world games, that stuff just tires me out and it burns me out on those kinds of games. So I just skipped it this time. And I went through and just did the Zelda stuff, really. Stuck with the story. My only gripe was weapon durability. I don't think weapon durability is fun in any game. But that being said, it's not, not the worst thing ever in this game. I think this, as far as open world games goes, this game is a 10 out of 10. They're unlike other open world games where you have to do these chores to level up your character. You don't have to do all that. Like you get strong in other ways. Yeah, so much fun. I had such a good time with this game. The music, also the atmosphere, the story. This game is just a 10 out of 10. There's just no other way to put it. Next up, Hollow Knight. I played through Hollow Knight a second time. This game is crazy good. The art and the music are my favorite things, just period. Their use of color and like their conservative use of color really makes just like immaculate vibes because of that. To me, the difficulty of this game is perfect. It's not too hard, but it is difficult and challenging, and it's not super punishing. The runbacks aren't really that bad. Like if you die fighting some boss, it's not hard to get back to that boss. And I think it just rewards like learning. It doesn't punish you for learning. It rewards learning. It's great. The first time I played it was like 2017. I remember having a really tough time with it, especially on like the Mantis. I don't know why I have such a memory of fighting the Mantis Lords and just having a bad time with them. But I kind of breezed through it this time. It almost felt too easy, which was kind of weird. Next up, a game that I enjoyed even more than Hollow Knight is Absolem. Not sure how it's pronounced. I thought this was just a really good execution of a new idea. This is a side-scroller beat-em-up game that has roguelike elements, in that you are basically going on runs and trying to complete these runs, and each run is unique because you get different items that really alter the way that your character plays. Every character in this game feels extremely unique. It's kind of similar to the way that the characters feel unique in Marvel Cosmic Invasion. So they don't only feel unique because of their special abilities, but just the way that their basic attacks work in this game are completely different from one another. And they each have like a specific rhythm to them, which is kind of cool. Like this game feels, even though it's not musical, like just fighting in this game feels musical because there's such a fluid rhythmic feel to it. It feels better than any other beat 'em up type game that I've ever played. Like they've figured something out here that is they just unlocked. I don't know what it is, but it's so good. The combat is just so fluid. This game actually feels modern, even though it's still that classic 2D side scroller. It's just incredible. I like. There's not much more I can say about it. It's I spent a bunch of time playing it, and then once I rolled credits on it, I've spent a bunch more time. I think I beat it on every character. It's just a good time. I can't recommend this more to everybody. This it's pretty close to my game of the year. Uh, but with that said, moving on to the next, Hollow Knight Silk Song, baby. Uh, this game is so much harder than the original Hollow Knight, especially because I played the original Hollow Knight just like a month or two before I got back in or got into this on release. The controls are somehow tighter, even tighter and smoother, which I think that the controls in Hollow Knight are just incredible. Somehow they just improved them in this game. The art style is just a little bit better. The music is just as good. I guess my biggest complaint is the early game is really punishing. It's also really difficult in addition to punishing. And just for reference, my definition of punishing versus difficult is punishing is like how much you're set back or how much it hurts to make a mistake, and difficult is how easy it is to make said mistake. So the beginning of this game is both punishing and difficult because you are set back very far if you make a mistake, and it is very easy to make mistakes, not only because you haven't learned the ropes yet, but just because the design of the early levels is just difficult. It's just hard. But that being said, I think the game mostly gets easier as it goes on, which is kind of cool. And maybe that's just me getting better at the game, but I have, even then, there were a few bosses that I probably spent 30 plus tries on, which in Hollow Knight, I don't think any boss took me more than like 3 or 4 tries. Yeah, definitely more difficult. Definitely more difficult. But also I thought more rewarding and just more fun in general. The level design I thought in general was better. I finished the game and rolled credits, but technically there's a whole nother act left that I haven't even got back into yet. So I definitely want to return to that and explore that and see how it is. But yeah, that's Hollow Knight Silk Song. 10 out of 10. And this is the last game on my list, the best game that I played this year, and best game that I played in probably 1998, 2000, 99, 2000, 2001, and 2002. And the last time I played it was somewhere around there, maybe 2002. But this game holds up. It's crazy how timeless this is. The dungeon design is so good. The story design, the progression is so good. Going back and forth between being a child and an adult or a teenager or whatever you are in the later timeline is so good. Time traveling is just fun. It's like stories around time traveling are just fun. The music in this is so memorable. When I first played this as a kid, I remember thinking like, man, this game is so spooky. Like it just has this spooky atmosphere. And then coming back to it as an adult and knowing like kind of how video games are made and stuff and seeing through that stuff just made me appreciate it more somehow. I don't know, this game just has such a special place in my heart. And when I was a kid, like Wind Waker, right? I gave that a 7 this time around, even though that was probably my favorite game as a kid. I loved the hell out of Wind Waker. I loved it more than I did Ocarina of Time. And just returning to this and seeing how much better it is than Wind Waker and how like close to perfection they came to in 1998 or whenever it came out on the Nintendo 64 is just crazy. Like they had a grasp on what they were doing design wise, and it's just fantastic. So I would say this is my game of the year, even though it came out in 1990X, whatever it did. So good. Perfect game. I have no gripes. So I guess my game of the year for a game that came out this year would be Silk Song. GOTY. Just such a great game. I got to come back to it and finish the true ending, since I've only done the unofficial rolled credits ending. But even up to that point, man, the music, the combat, the story, I loved it all. Loved it all. And close behind, Absalom, unexpected hit for me. just completely unexpected out of left field. But yeah, that's it. That's all the games that I played so far this year. There's a bunch more that I started and DNF'd for one reason or another. Most of them just got there was nothing that I really didn't like that I DNF'd. Most of it I just got distracted on. So I'll probably come back to those next year and wrap them up. But I hope you enjoyed this little recap. That's all I have to say. Until next time, I'll talk to you all later.